One of the big things that I've watched shift over the last 10 plus years is that concept of pre-competitive collaboration, right? It used to be 10 plus years ago, if someone was going after a sustainability thing, it was a nice little marketing ploy. Maybe it could be a competitive advantage because your competitors didn't have it. And now it's a realization that we need whole systemic change, and no one can do that in a silo.
Welcome to Sustainable Packaging with Cory Connors, presented by Atlantic Packaging. I'm your host, Cory Connors. In today's episode, I connected with the Executive Director of How to Recycle, Emily Williams. We talked about everything from lawsuits and policy changes that are affecting labels on packaging to what to expect at their upcoming event this September 30th in San Diego. I'd also like to thank 3M and Specrite and Forest Packaging for being our sponsors. Welcome, Emily Williams. I'm so excited to have you on again, my friend. Congratulations on your new role at the How to Recycle Leadership. Can you tell us about your background a little bit? Because the last time we had you on, you're on a different role.
Yeah, it's been a few years. I was with TC Transcontinental Packaging when we last spoke, and now they're a part of ProAmpac as those industries change. So lots of changes happened. So how did I come to How to Recycle? That's a good question. My background by education is I'm a chemical engineer. I've got a bachelor's and master's degree in chemical engineering. Started out in R&D, moved into the packaging industry in, I want to say 2015. So a little over a decade of packaging industry experience,
Wow.
Either on the product development engineer side of things or on like the global marketing strategy side of things, specifically for sustainability. I used to work for Michelman, which is a coatings supplier into the packaging space, was there for around 6 years. And then I went to TC Transcontinental, which was a converter for flexibles. And I was there for around 5 years. I was in a sustainability specific role in their R&D team while I was there. My background in the sustainability space is really, I feel like I've been with it since some of the early days of it. Back when they would take the sustainability weirdos and kind of stick us in the side room at an event, like, we're going to go let these people talk to each other for a few hours because they're really loud, but they're kind of weird, and we don't want to make this a whole thing.
There's something there, but we don't want to know about
right.
it yet.
Yeah. Well, some of us are, it's fine. There's truth in all of that. And now to see it evolve to, it's the whole event, right? It's table stakes. It's all anybody talks about anymore. Events are entirely built around it. So it's been a wild evolution to be a part of, and to feel like you were, I was on the ground floor of it is pretty cool. And coming into How to Recycle, my core competencies I've always described are product sustainability, policy, and partnerships. And those are the things that this group seems to need. So it's been a really good fit, kind of like a freakishly good fit. It almost feels like this is the job I was setting myself up for over the last decade in a way. I'm really enjoying it. I really enjoy the team. I really enjoy the new way I get to talk to my industry peers in this role is so cool. Conversations that I would have sold a kidney to have back when I was in industry are now just like people I just get to go talk to. And it's super cool.
And they're seeking you out because of your
which is also really
leadership
cool.
role, which is it's a nice change, I bet.
Mm-hmm.
I was so used to seeing you work the booth at the SPC events, and now it's going to be great to see you on stage and taking a leadership role and maybe leading all of the talks and everything. I don't know how involved you'll be with that. Maybe that's you and Paul. Maybe that's you and Olga. I don't know how that's going to work, but I'm excited to see that at the event coming up soon. So if you're listening, this event hasn't happened yet, and you can make it. It's when is it? The
very end of September. Yeah.
The 30th of September. There's 2 days of an SPC event in San Diego, and then your event is the How to Recycle event on the 30th.
Yep. And you should go for the whole thing.
Yeah, you should. I totally agree. You should go to the whole thing. A lot of people only do a day or two, and I think you miss a lot if you don't experience the whole thing.
You do. Agreed.
So how has that been? Do you go now to events and you're like walking through and not working at a booth thinking, oh, this is really cool, I can kind of have more freedom?
Yes and no. So it's interesting because, I used to having the booth was like, here's your home base, right?
Yeah.
And you could work from there and people would come to you. And now I go to events when I'm attending other events that aren't ours because we do still often have a booth that I can be available to answer questions at our own events. And we'll have that also at the Advanced and the Summit this fall. But now when I go to other events, the tricky part now in being such an openly public facing role and being recognizable, it's the glasses and the headbands, I've done it to myself, is that I can't move like 5 feet without somebody stopping me to talk. So like on the one hand, I'm not trapped in a booth anymore, but in the other hand,
You
people
can't
find me.
be, yeah, you can't be incognito, right?
No,
Yeah, yeah.
you'd be surprised by the number of bathroom conversations I have had.
I would not be surprised because I have the same thing. Oh, are you the podcast guy? Yeah,
Oh,
I
I
get
believe
that
it. Yeah,
all the
wait,
time.
your
And
face
I'm
is
like,
recognizable. I had the most incredible member experience. I have to tell you about this. I was
please.
on vacation over the 4th of July weekend with my mom. We were in New York City. And so we went to the Met to go see some of the new exhibits there and also because it was crazy hot outside. So we were trying to
Hmm.
hide indoors. And we had just come out of the ticket line and this woman comes up to me and she was so excited to come up to me and she was like, "I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. But are you Emily Williams?" I was like, "Yes." She
Maybe.
works for Sunoco. And she was like, "I just recognized you from the town halls and you must be on vacation. I don't want to bother you, but it's so nice to meet you in person." It was so lovely. And just, yeah, I mean, at the Met on vacation, a
What
member
a good
found me.
feeling.
So,
Yeah.
right? It
Yeah.
was super cool. It almost felt like she was meeting a celebrity, which might just be feeding my ego, but yeah, it was a wonderful experience.
Well, you are a packaging superstar. I'm proud of you and what you've accomplished in your short career already, and you've got a very long career in front of you, with more greatness. So I can't wait to see what you accomplish in the future. So yeah,
Thank you.
when I heard about you being selected, if you will, for this
Mhm.
job, I thought, perfect. They couldn't have found a more perfect person. This is awesome. So I was really excited for you. I mean, you and I have been friends for a very long time,
Years. Yeah,
and it's fun to see your friends be successful and
it is.
get into career lines and career paths that really make sense for them. So good for you and congrats again. Hey, friends, we are going to take a quick break to thank our sponsors. Please be sure to support them. Are you shipping with recycled corrugated? Think outside the box with 3M tape. 3M packaging tape can help you overcome your recycled corrugated challenges with confidence, making sure your boxes are sealed securely the first time, reducing downtime, and providing consistent performance. With 3M as your partner, you can maintain productivity, achieve cost savings, and turn packaging problems into sealing success. When you use recycled corrugated shipping boxes, think 3M packaging tape. Sustainability starts long before a product hits a shelf. It starts with the spec. That's why brands choose SpecRite, the leader in intelligent specification data management and modern product lifecycle management. SpecRite turns siloed packaging and product data into connected, reliable intelligence so AI can identify waste, optimize materials, streamline supplier collaboration, and accelerate sustainable product design. If you're trying to reduce packaging complexity or meet evolving regulations, it's time for a spec-first approach. SpecRite, the intelligent foundation for every product. Discover more at specrite.com. In packaging, it's still, I know a guy, but what happens when you don't? Or when you need something beyond your network? Forest is built for that. A platform that connects packaging knowledge with AI intelligence, giving you access to verified suppliers, real capabilities, and actionable data in one place. Take action at speed. Execute with intelligence. That's Forest.
Well, thank you for that. That's very flattering.
Yeah. So when you took over the role, you jumped right into a very tumultuous
Mhm.
time
Sure did.
in packaging. So you have been juggling since day one. Uh,
Mhm.
Recycling and recycling policy is changing very quickly.
Mhm.
What kinds of changes are you seeing that are bad news, and what kind of changes are you seeing that are good news?
Well, for our audience, I feel like we have to specify that you and I are having this conversation the week after the SB 343 injunction happened. So in terms of like, well, what's going on? What's new? It's like, oh, nothing major, small
Right.
stuff. So
Just the
obviously we have to talk about that, because if we don't, it's kind of like there being an elephant in the corner with a sign saying address me on it, and we just choose to ignore it. So
right.
we have to mention that. I mean, so it is a tumultuous time. There's a lot of activity happening. We've obviously got some very significant pieces of legislation that are in play and being litigated against, and that really adds confusion for our membership. We made the moves we needed to make over a year ago to redesign our labels to be compliant with California. Members have done an incredible job switching over to the new labels to be compliant on the timeline they need to be. And then the injunction happens, and it creates a lot of additional confusion. We put out a statement on the injunction. It's very simple, it's very clear. It's that we are obviously following it, reading the details, speaking to various industry peers and experts, some of whom are involved in the lawsuit, to get thoughts on things. And that the important things to know is it's still an active law.
Right.
Right? It's not like the law was struck down. We've heard confusion to that effect. And the injunction, to our knowledge, doesn't apply to anyone except for those that are on the plaintiff's list. So it's not everyone in industry, from what we know. So that puts us in a tricky place. You know, can we provide flexibility to those that it does apply to? Should we? Is the safest,
Right.
lowest risk pathway, and often we tend to be conservative for good reason,
Mhm.
risk protection reasons, right? For our
Sure.
membership, is the safest pathway to maintain follow through on compliance. We've seen articles to that effect put out by law firms. So, you know, every company has to decide how to manage the risk for themselves ultimately, especially if you're a plaintiff and the injunction applies to you. Those are choices that you have to make. But for us, currently we are not changing anything about the labels, anything about, you know, things that might have been changed due to SB 343 in terms of upgrades, downgrades, et cetera. Everything is kind of hold the line is
Yeah.
what we're really doing right now. So yeah, that's been fun to follow, and the absolute firestorm that was for 48 hours, because we got emails into the system from members within like 2 hours of the
Okay.
injunction news being public. I mean, it was immediate. So,
Because it affects so many kinds of packaging.
mhm.
So to step back a little bit, just for the audience, I should have prefaced this question with that. The SB 343 is the California's truth in labeling
Mhm.
law that
Yep.
they've got implemented, and this is a very basic version of that. But basically, it says you can't use recycled logos on packaging anymore if they're not curbside recyclable by a certain percentage of
Mhm.
California consumers. I believe that's 60%. Is that accurate?
60% have
Yep.
to have access, and then 60% of things have to be sorted successfully. And it's the 60/60 is a big ask, and it's hard, and it, you know, there's lots of questions about, well, if something is 55%, are we just not recycling it anymore?
What does that
Um,
mean? Right,
What
right.
does that mean? What does this mean as far as the California EPR law goes, where you have these rates and dates that you have to meet by certain time frames, but now I can't say that something's recyclable to get it to those rates and dates? I mean, it's a lot of industry confusion, and questions and concern has come out of it. So,
I think that's exactly right. I think most of the people listening to this podcast are in the industry, of course,
mhm.
possibly consumers, but well, we're all consumers, but they're mostly worried about how this will affect them
Yeah.
as a consumer brand, as a consumer facing brand. Can you give your pro tips on what company ABC should be doing with their packaging labeling?
Wow, that's a great question. It's kind
Mm,
of a loaded question, because
totally
ultimately at
loaded.
the end of the day, right? Yeah, it's very loaded. You knew that going in.
Yes.
At the end of the day, every organization has to manage their risk on their own. We have had every response you could possibly imagine to SB 343 in our system. We have major CPGs and retailers who are full steam ahead. They're switching to the pro labels. They're labeling everything they possibly can. They're not They're not backing off in any way. And all the way down to we've had some organizations say, I'm just not going to label anything until this gets sorted out. And then everything in the in between. So it really is an individual organization's choice. We obviously stand by the labels that we have. We designed them to be compliant with the law. That's what we do as an organization. We comply with laws at how to recycle.
Great
Um,
idea.
right. Yeah. So solid start. Good plan.
Recommend it.
Yeah. So we designed them to be compliant with the law. We believe that they are compliant with the law and we stand by them, and we stand by with I mean, it's our mission is to educate consumers on what to do with their materials. So, it's core to who we are that we think labels should be on packaging.
Yeah. Oh, exactly. And the consumer needs it to
Mhm.
know what to do. I mean,
Mhm.
your organization is literally called How to Recycle, and I think that's
Yep.
such it's just so obvious. Like, well, this is how you do it. You scan the code, or you look at the very simple instructions on the appropriate
Yeah.
tags. So, I think the redesign your team did is incredible, and I think it
Yeah, it
was
was a big piece of work that they did. It predates me, but it was a massive undertaking. I know that there was, I believe, a working group on the SPC side. There was consumer studies that were done. I mean, we don't do any kind of changes without going through that full process where membership is involved, consumer studies are completed. It's not like we make those types of changes in a vacuum.
right. I think that's what was so impressive is you had so many people involved, and
Mhm.
Brandy and her team, designed it,
Mhm.
and just got the input of I think probably thousands of people really
Mhm.
in the
Yeah,
whole
our
scope of
consumer
it.
studies always include thousands. So,
Yeah, yeah. Because that's important. I think they had a lot of feedback that surprised them. I spoke with Brandy about it, and she said, "Well, yeah, we were kind of surprised by this part, and but we ran with it because this is what people want. They want to.
yeah.
They don't understand what this logo means, or they don't like how this looks. So you adjusted it.
Yeah, consumer studies are so interesting. We get as industry people, we get really attached to like this is the industry speak we use to describe a thing, package type, format, whatever it is, to each other. And then you go and you put that on a label and the consumer's like, I have no idea what that is. What does this mean? Right. So we run into that all the time. We're like, maybe that's not the word that we should be using. What word should we use? So, and we have more consumer studies that we're working on doing to that effect right now, on the SPC side, regarding food residue on packaging
Hmm.
and how to communicate effectively to consumers that they need to clean it or empty it or something. What is the magic word that makes sense to them?
Yeah.
Because it's probably not necessarily what we've been using. So,
Yeah, and how many people are going to wash out M&M's bag, things like that. You think about it like that's probably not going to happen. So
yeah.
uh, you know, let's give them a goal they can attain. Yeah, like
Hmm.
that in everyday use of packaging. I I travel a lot like you do, and I
Hmm.
every once in a while while I'm boarding, there's always garbage cans there, right? And I'm
Yep.
just as a packaging nerd, I'm looking at them and I'm
You look
watching
in them.
them
I do the same thing. Yeah.
and
We're so
and
fun at parties.
the people are yeah the people are putting non-recyclables into the recycle bin, or they're putting recyclables into the trash. I just want to say wait, stop, and I can't do that. Not in
I'm the
public.
person in the airport who's taking like my iced coffee cup and I've
Hmm.
drunk all the coffee and I take the lid off and I dump in the trash and then
Yeah.
yeah, that. So people must watch me at the bins like, what is this crazy lady doing?
Why is she doing that? Yeah, I
Yeah.
love it. But that's what it's the right thing to do. So I guess we can lead by example. So
Mm.
still my kids ask, is this recyclable? What do I do with this, Dad? Which bag,
I've got my friends pretty schooled on that. I've been the fun person at parties who will like go through the two bins kind of
Hmm.
thing and be like, you can't put this in the recycling bin and why is this in the trash? And then I'll yell at everyone at the party, which
Yeah.
has in the long term resulted in friends just sending me text messages to ask, hey, is this thing recyclable?
Right.
So progress. I'll take
Hey,
it.
that's I'll take that too, and I love that. I love to be a part of the solution. I feel like because the cleaner
Mm-hmm.
the waste streams are, the better value they'll have.
Yep.
I've heard from Circular Action Alliance in Oregon that about 20% of what gets put into the blue bins in Oregon is actually trash and shouldn't be in there.
Oh,
I
I
thought
believe it.
I thought that number was actually pretty low. I thought it would
Actually,
have
that number's
been higher.
20% is, I thought you were going with a different direction with that, but
Yeah.
no, that's, yeah, 20% is. Okay. And if
That's
you
pretty
ever
good.
get to tour like a recovery facility or a paper mill, some of them will have like a wall of shame of stuff
Hmm.
that's come in bales. It's crazy. Bowling balls, an engine block. Like,
Yeah.
how this end up in a paper bale? It's wild.
And what I'm learning about in kind of the seedy side of things is sometimes that's intentional because they
Mm,
want
makes it heavier.
they get paid by the weight. So,
Hmm.
ugh, but let's hope that stuff, and I think if there's big fines if that happens
Yeah,
and they find out who it was and
I hope
how
so.
they did it. So
Yeah.
I did see one of those little kid pools once, the big plastic ones in a bin, in a bale, and I thought,
Mm,
hmm, I don't know if that's recyclable, but
garden
maybe.
hoses, plastic chairs.
Yeah,
Yeah.
tough. Tough for consumers and tough for people like us in the industry trying to figure it out on a macro level. So
Yeah,
I think
it's
it's
tough
important.
to maintain trust when
Hmm.
consumers see stuff like that, right? Like that's a big thing for the recycling system is credibility and trust and transparency. And we even have that with our own members of making sure that we're being transparent about a change we made and why we did it and what our sources of data are and answering questions and things. A lot of it comes down to the system works when there's credibility and there's trust and there's transparency.
That's it. You have to show that it's worth the time spent, or
Hmm.
people will just stop doing it. And
Yep.
I think recycling has a better public opinion than a lot of people think.
I
In
would
my
agree.
opinion.
And
Yeah.
I think that, I mean, we're an optimistic organization by nature, but we have a lot of hope and a lot of optimism for the future of recycling. I mean, you go back to policy stuff and you think about EPR systems and having EPR laws come online and how those are supposed to work with taking the money the producers pay in to improve the actual infrastructure
Yeah.
and it takes a while to see the benefits from those. Like these things don't happen overnight, but the fact that they're happening at all is great.
Yes.
And it's the kind of stuff that we need to happen.
Hmm.
So we have a lot of optimism and hope for the future of recycling in this country.
Me too, my friend. That's why it's so exciting to go to your events, and I can't
Mhm.
wait to for your event September 30th in San Diego. Can you tell us a little bit of sneak peek, maybe things that
Mm,
haven't been publicly noted yet, or is that
yeah.
too
We've got
risque?
all sorts of good stuff coming up in that event. I'm really excited. I've got a little bit of a personal passion for like logistics and planning. So I
Yeah.
love that part of coming up with content and trying to think about what does the membership really want to hear. So there's a bunch of things I'm really excited about that range from panels to some short little TED Talks that,
Hmm.
I've got a team member working on something that membership has been directly asking for with a one-page substantiation document that helps members have a starting point for how do you substantiate, the claim that the claim that you're using, how is that substantiated through our methodology? And she's going to talk
Hmm.
about that. In some of the really nitty gritty stuff related to what we've been talking about today, I've got a panel that I'm going to moderate with three other leaders of other trade associations where we're going to get really into the detail about, okay, you have a law, SB 343, and your organization is unhappy with it or whatever, and you want it to be changed. How do you go about doing that?
Hmm.
We've gotten so many questions from membership on SB 343, and it's interesting. One of the ones we get most often is, how are you, like pointing directly at how to recycle or green blue, how are you going to
Yeah.
fix SB 343? Exactly like that, which is a fascinating question for an organization like us to get because we're a nonprofit, we're 501c3, and there's strict rules around how much, it's really how little, a
Right.
nonprofit can lobby. We can advocate, but we can't lobby. And those are two different activities. But there's other organizations that can lobby. And when something is a law, there's a few particular pathways that you can take to impart change on an existing law. And those other trade groups that can lobby have chosen one or multiple of those pathways and are actively working down them to impart change or maybe try to get some federal perspective with the PAC Act that Ameripen's working on,
Hmm.
the lawsuit, making sure that their own materials still meet the requirements of the law and the lobbying efforts and the work that that takes. And so we're going to have this panel where we really get into that kind of detail of how that works and who does what and how you can impart change. And it kind of feels like we're taking what's been like a hallway quiet conversation where people are kind of uncomfortable talking about that loudly and putting it
Mhm.
on the main stage and saying, no, we're going to address this straight up and talk about these are the pathways to change a law like this. And this is what these other trade associations are doing in spaces that How to Recycle can't participate because we don't lobby, but there's interaction points where we can help advocate and provide tools into that. So I'm really excited for that panel. I think it's a really important topic. I think our members really need to hear that so openly, because it starts to help things be more transparent. It goes back to transparency and clarity in how do these systems even work when something like this happens.
That's exciting. Wow,
It
this
is.
I can't wait for this panel. Well done. And I think it's humble that you're willing to share the stage with the other groups and say,
Mm,
because we're all in this together. And I think,
mm-hmm.
you know, you're not looking for the spotlight. You're not looking for, hey, look at us, we're doing great. But look at us as a full group in the
Yeah.
industry, and look at how much we can accomplish together, and maybe
Yeah. That
here's some
ecosystem
struggles. Yeah.
is really important. I mean, it goes back to early conversations. We were joking about being the weirdos in a room on the side, and now it's the whole event, right? And it's table stakes now. And one of the big things that I've watched shift over the last 10 plus years is that concept of pre-competitive collaboration,
Yeah.
right? It used to be 10 plus years ago, if someone was going after a sustainability thing, it was a nice little marketing ploy. Maybe it could be a competitive advantage because your competitors didn't have it. Um, and now it's a realization that we need whole systemic change, and no one can do that in a silo. You're not going to be able to accomplish that as individual company A for a competitive advantage. The only way we all get there is if we do it together as a group. And honestly, the work that our types of organizations do are the same. It's an ecosystem of organizations that work together and provide data and do studies and fill different needs and gaps in the systems in order to get to the same end goal.
Yeah. That's it. The first time I heard that phrase, pre competition collaboration, uh, was at an SPC or a Green Blue event, and I'll
Mm,
never forget it because I thought, yes, that's the solution. We need to work
yeah,
together before it goes into the market and
yeah.
scale up, and I think that's what makes it feasible. So that's
Hmm.
exciting to see.
Agreed.
Well, last year was a big hit. I know a lot of positive feedback about the how to recycle members being able to get time with you and your team,
Hmm.
kind of independently. Are you going to do that again this year?
Yeah, so we're ramping up efforts on all fronts to give membership the opportunity to actually speak to a person and ask us questions directly. This includes in-person events. So if you go the whole week, which you should, to advance in the summit, we're going to have booths in our little exhibit space for all of How to Recycle. We're going to have a booth with a couple of team members from our member services team. We're going to have a booth with a couple of team members from our platform team. The platform team is the group that processes all the brand requests. And
Oh,
then we're going to have a couple of us, myself and another team member on the R&D side to answer the more technical questions. So we'll have you covered from every basis. We will be at these booths all 3 days and all of the breaks. We'll be around at the events. Come find us. I'm assuming it says staff on our badge somewhere. I'm hard to miss. Assuming you can see me above the crowd, I am hard
they'll
to miss.
find
I'll
you.
just hide. I'll
Yeah,
hide behind a tall person if I'm really desperate for a moment alone. But
we'll get
but
you a
yeah, we'll be
mask. Yeah.
there. And then we also have the town halls that we've started doing. We've done two, but the first one was my second day of employment.
Oh my goodness.
um, and then the second one we did was actually the Tuesday, the week of July 4th. I have to tell you, Cory, the attendance was bananas
Oh,
for a town hall that's not recorded, so you have to be there because these are unrecorded conversations, and they're half the time is dedicated to giving members the ability to ask questions in the chat that we address either verbally or in the chat, and then share some information and do polls and give them a flavor of what's coming up and what we're working on and what we're thinking about. Whenever you create a webinar and you have a bunch of people register and then some percentage of that shows up, we had a 74% attendance rate the week of
wow.
July 4th in that town hall. That is, for people who work in the space of doing that kind of thing, that is bananas.
It's huge.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, so members clearly want this. They want this opportunity to connect with us, to hear from us, to be able to ask questions. And we're going to continue to try and find ways to give them that opportunity.
I think it shows how valuable your organization is and has
Hmm.
become to our industry, because it's integrated into the system now. People are saying, people
Yes.
are using it, and they want
Yes.
to use it. They need it for so many reasons,
Hmm.
compliance and other rules and laws. But I think it's well, I'm a little biased, and I know you are too. But we really like it. So, anyways, I hope to see you all in San Diego, September 30th this year, 2026. Um, Anything else you'd like to say before we close the show here?
We covered a lot of ground.
We did
So
good.
I think we kind of went all over the place, didn't we? But in a good way. No, I'm excited to see people at Advance and the summit. And I'm going to be at some other events as well. I'll be at FPA's Fall Flex Forward meeting
Okay.
on a panel in there. So you can catch me there. Next spring, I've already committed to FPI's spring
Mhm.
meeting to speak to them and to meet with their members. So, and I'm sure there will be more to come. So there will be more places and opportunities to find me as well. If you for some terrible tragic reason cannot come to Advance in the summit in the fall,
Well, you'll forgive them if they can't make
I
it.
will.
Uh,
I am forgiving that way. Yes.
you're so kind. Well, thank you, Emily. I appreciate your wisdom and your leadership in this industry. Thank you.
It's always a pleasure.